All right, welcome Team Schrader 2020. Tonight, we are so blessed. We're going to hear tonight about faith. Many of you have been sending in some questions about your crisis of faith right now. How could God let something like COVID-19 happen? How could our entire community be shut down? And I'm so grateful that my pastor, James Merritt of Cross Point Church here in Duluth, who has taught me well over the last 15 years, is willing to come and share with us a few messages about hope, about how he is navigating the stormy waters of COVID-19, and just give us some spiritual guidance and some motivation tonight. So, Pastor Merritt, it's so nice of you to join me and to just share with everybody that's been tuning in some wise words of how we can continue to spiritually grow through this and navigate these stormy waters.
Well, Your Honor, first of all, it's a joy to be with you. And gosh, hard to believe we've been together 15 years, Judge. That's really kind of hard to, I don't know where the time has gone. Appreciate your faithfulness to our church, to the community, to your service to the community. When you first ran this idea by me the other day, I got pretty excited about it. So I'm hoping that you and I both can kind of team up, be an encouragement and a help to the community that we both love and serve. So I'm looking forward to
Good, good. Well, share with us when you were first faced with the sheltering order and making the decision that church was not going to be held normally on a Sunday morning. So just kind of walk our community through that and share with us the strategies that you've implemented to allow all of us to worship online and stay connected.
Well, Kathy, I'm no different than everybody out there listening. I mean, one of the things you learn about yourself, you learn more about yourself in a crisis than you do when things are going well. And so when the shelter in place, especially, was put or the order was put into place, and even really before that, we kind of saw what was going on out there. We made a decision that I think the vast majority of churches have to make. That is, look, we want to be a good neighbor. We want to be a good citizen. We want to be a good Christian. So, we're fortunate. We're one of those churches, as you know, Kathy, we're on television. So we already had the wherewithal to do things in a professional way that we've been doing for a while, online, live streaming, that kind of thing. A lot of churches, we're always blessed to have. So for us, it wasn't that difficult a decision. I preached the empty building before. As a matter of fact, Kathy, to be honest, I preached in a lot of places that were full, but they felt like they were empty. Everybody's half asleep. But anyway, I've done that before. That's not a big deal. But we just really had to start on the fly, start to look at how's this going to look. So what we tried to do is, I think what a lot of people try to do, we tried to normalize the abnormal as much as we possibly can. So we've tried to do everything we can to bring our own live worship into your living room, into my living room, and to give people a sense that, hey, we're still a community. We still can connect. Even though we're not within the four walls of our church, we are still the church. And even though we cannot come to church, we can still be the church. And there are a lot of people that had to do the same thing who work in business, who are first responders, our police officers. People are having to keep up with the essential businesses. I was at the grocery store today and so grateful for all these people. But, we're all, honestly, kind of feeling our way as we go along. And I think most people have done a great job.
Okay. So as a human being, not just as a pastor, share with the community a few of the strategies that you have in fighting isolation, fighting frustration over things not moving fast enough, fighting concern about all of the members of your church. Share with us how you're navigating that.
Well, Kathy, that is a deeper question than maybe your listeners realize, because I'm going to have to be very candid, not as a pastor, but just as a Christian. I don't know how people navigate anything like this without faith that there is a God who is sovereign over the universe, that has his hand on the throttle, that is in full control. He knows what's going on. He knew this before the world was even created. If we're at the mercy of random fate and chance, I would be in total despair. But I get up every morning believing that there's nothing out of God's control. There's not one molecule in the universe running around doing its own thing, that there is a God who is in control of this universe. Now, I know a lot of people would ask the question, well, but why is God allowing this? And I think there's some answers that we can give that I always know are true, whether things are good or things are bad. But at the same time, that's my starting point. I have to be very honest. Not only do I believe there's a sovereign God that is in control, and therefore, as my mentor Adrian Rogers used to say, there's no panic in heaven, just plans. And I know God's got all this worked out. But even this last weekend, Easter, there's a God that not only is in control, there's a God that loves all of us and has proven that he loves us by sending his son Jesus Christ to die on the cross so that we could be forgiven of our sins, and to prove that he was who he said he was and did what he said he did. 3 days later, God raised him from the dead. And as of today, the 14th of April, he's still the only human being out of 30 billion who have lived on this earth that ever came back from the dead. He's the only one that ever did it, the only one that ever pulled it off. So the way I deal with it right off the bat is just placing my faith in a risen Lord, in a God that I know is going to work all these things out ultimately for our good and for his glory. Now, that said, you're right, Kathy. I'm a human being. I'm like everybody else. It is frustrating. I mean, this was the first thing. I've been a pastor for over 4 decades. I've never been out of church on Easter. In fact, let me back up. Counting the time I was a baby in the nursery, I've never missed church on Easter Sunday in my life until this past Sunday. You talk about frustration on steroids. For me, Easter was such a mixed bag. I mean, the good news is between Facebook and live streaming, Kathy, we had almost over 9,500 people that watched our service. That's the good news. The bad news is the 2,000 plus that normally get together, we didn't have them physically at the campus. It was very, very frustrating. So, I start out by that faith. And number two, and again, you asked me how I do it. The first thing I do every morning is I get a word from God. I read my Bible. And every time I read my Bible, I get encouraged, I get blessed, and I read promises. And I know that I serve a God that's never, ever broken his promise. And then the third thing that I do, Kathy, is I treat every day as if it is a work day. I work every day. I just got off, I told you I got off a Zoom call with a person having doubts about their faith. I was on a 2-hour Zoom call with several staff and breakout meetings talking about future messages, talking about, hey, if this thing finally breaks, what are we going to do? How are we going to be prepared? I'm always answering emails. I'm returning texts. I'm making phone calls. I'm staying busy, and I treat every day like a work day. And then the other thing, frankly, is I have the blessing, like you do, of having a very strong marriage. So I've got a mate that's my best friend and helping me navigate through these times. So I'm doing a lot of the things, that other people are doing. But I'll tell you the worst thing, Kathy, you were talking about, we're both concerned about the mental health strain this is going to cause on a lot of people. I think the worst thing you can do is sit around and twiddle your thumbs and worry and walk the floor and despair. And then I know it may be easy for me to say this, but I want to say to our listeners, and I'm sorry to talk so long, it's just full of on my heart. Fear and worry has never moved the ball down the field in any situation I've ever encountered in my life, ever. Fear never moves the ball down the field. Faith does, fear doesn't. Worry doesn't, worship does. So I just make a choice. And by the way, one last thing. I choose every day, Kat. There's 2 things you can choose every day. You can choose your attitude. Nobody chooses your attitude for you but you. I choose every day to have a positive, faith-filled attitude. Number 2, I choose every day to believe God. Even in spite of, God, why don't you work now? God, I know you can take this virus away today. God, I know you can do it this instant. But he doesn't. That's okay. God, no matter what, I'm going to live today believing you and trusting you.
Well, Pastor, have you noticed an uptick in families or individuals calling you with some crisis calls and just so stressed and worried about this situation and just about the future in general?
It's text, it's emails, it's phone calls. And Kathy, who I get more from than anybody are pastors. Pastors out there trying to, how do you navigate this? Because frankly, there are pastors out there, they don't have the size church that we have. They don't have the resources that we have. And they're in some ways a much more difficult situation. So, I'm here for pastors. I talked to a man last night, which I tried to help a man yesterday, that was actually staying in a hotel. And the person that was helping him didn't have any more money. He wanted us to help him, which we were trying to reach out to help him. So there's absolutely been an uptick in all of that. There's been an uptick, and I'll tell you where the uptick is. A lot of it's been social media has exploded. Now, according to what I've heard, Kathy, we may have had more people watching Easter service yesterday than in the history of this world. Estimates are that 2.6 billion people yesterday watched at least a little bit of some type of Easter service. Well, I know that because of just the numbers I just gave. And I'm not trying to back there. There are a lot of churches out there that dwarfed us in the number of viewers that they have. So the answer to your question is yes, there has been an uptick, and I think there's going to be more of it.
Okay. All right. Well, is there any other wisdom you'd like to share before we sign off this evening?
Well, first of all, Judge, thank you for letting me have this opportunity to speak to our community out there. Never been more proud to be in Gwinnett County. Never been more proud to be a Georgian. Never more proud to be an American. I mean, it's amazing. Once again, we've seen it all over our coming. Who would have thought that just a word from the President of the United States and 90% of our people, which I think is incredible, said, if this is what we need to do as a nation to get ourselves back together, count me in. And with all of our faults and all of our flaws and all of our foibles and all of our failures, we're still the greatest people in the world. I am so proud of our country. I'm so proud of our state. I'm so proud of our cities. So proud of Gwinnett County. And just keep the faith, hang in there. There is a God that's in control. We will get through this. I'll say one last thing, Kathy. Don't waste this crisis. I don't know where some of you are out there, and I'm a pastor, so I have to say this. If you come through this crisis, and at the end of the day, you just go back to living life as normal, you put God back on the shelf, you just say, thanks a lot, I think I can take it from here, you will have wasted a whole lot of trouble, because there's one thing I do know, Kathy. God wants to use this crisis to draw all of us in both a saving knowledge of his son, Jesus Christ, and to draw him closer to him than we've ever been drawn before. And that's my closing prayer for all of our listeners today.
Okay. Well, Pastor, thank you for sharing how a man of faith is navigating this. You're trusting the Lord every day, every second, every minute. And I think that it is inspiring to know that so many people are tuning in and are seeking, because it's clear that the Bible says, seek and you shall find. And I just thank you so much for sharing some time with us tonight, sharing your message of hope to everybody and encouragement. And I've been trying to challenge everybody too, not to waste this time. Use it to grow, use it to recreate a vision for your life, and come out of COVID-19 stronger than you went in. The whole purpose of this message is to let's crush COVID-19 together. And I think that by coming together as a community online and many other ways that are available, that we've actually been able to do that. And I agree. There's been a surge of patriotism, a surge of loyalty, a surge of compliance, and everybody coming together, not just to protect their own individual interests, but to make sure that they're engaging in behavior that is safe for the rest of the community. So it has been very inspiring.
Well, thank you, Judge, for all you mean to me personally. Thank you, and you know how much I love you and Richard and your family. Thank you for all you've done for our community, for the care that you have shown, even in your courtroom, for people with mental health issues and other things, some of the creative things you've done. And may the Lord continue to bless you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you.